Hi, this is my audio for my final presentation. My name is Wesley Skinner, and I am doing Preventing Future Mass Shootings Through Gun Control, and I am following my research paper's same thesis. And in that research paper, I covered how gun control will not be effective and why it shouldn't be implemented. So that's what I'm going to do my project on. I'll let you pull up my Prezi and give you a few seconds to do that, and then you can just keep this audio going while you click through my Prezi, and I'll tell you when to click to the next slide so you can follow along. You should see the main first slide, what says gun control doesn't work, and it has a world in the background. And we're going to go ahead and click to the next slide. I found the Harvard study to be very informational, and Harvard is well renowned for all of their studies, so I thought this was a good resource to use. Click to the next slide. They talked about a lot of different things. They talked about everything from how Europe and other nations have tried to ban guns and make it harder to get guns, and the crime rate has just risen, and it just hasn't been working out as well as they would have liked it to. And I think you can just see that if it doesn't work somewhere, why would it work for us? Next slide. Guns don't kill people, people do. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty much just saying that if someone wants to murder someone, they can use a gun, a knife, anything else. It doesn't have to be a gun. There's no reason to make a gun the bad guy here. It was in the Harvard study, they were saying how guns are actually one of the less common things to use for murdering someone. People are more often beaten, stabbed, or strangled. Next slide. Next slide. Here I said, what about knives? Why aren't firearms the number one weapon used in crimes? And this is pretty much what I was just talking about on that last slide. And I gave a quote about how murder isn't as common with a gun that it is in other forms. And I just thought that was really informational, and it also, the Harvard study went into saying that there was nine European nations with lower gun ownerships and having a combined murder rate that is 3 times higher than the 9 other nations in Europe. And it just goes to show that just because there are less guns in that nation doesn't mean there's going to be more murders. Next slide. Here's some charts that show different weapons different uses of like how people died, and guns are at the bottom of a list of 10. Next slide. Next slide. It's a slide with the gun, knife, and bat, and I just thought this was a good picture to show how a gun's just a gun, a knife's just a knife, and a bat's just a bat. It's a person who chooses how they're used, so a gun shouldn't be banned because of that. Next slide. More guns, less crime. This slide just talks about how the European nations with more guns have less crime, and there's more crime in the parts of Europe with less guns because criminals don't want to be shot, so why would they commit crimes where everyone has guns? Next slide. Next slide. America. The United States is the leading nation in gun ownership and only 28th in the world for gun murders out of 100,000 people. So I thought that was interesting. We're not even in the top 10 for most gun murders, yet we're wanting to ban guns when a lot of nations already have strict gun laws or don't have a lot of guns, and they're committing more murders in these countries. Next slide. Next slide. Self-defense. Guns are used more for self-defense than they are to commit crimes, so I don't think banning guns will do any good in the long run. people just aren't going to be able to defend themselves when someone is committing a crime, and it just doesn't make any sense. Next slide. Next slide. Police will protect you, right? This is pretty much just questioning, will a policeman be able to protect you if someone's breaking into your house and you don't have a gun to protect yourself? Is pepper spray going to work, or is it just going to make them mad and they're going to shoot you with the gun they illegally have because they're a criminal, so they don't follow the law anyways? So why would they not have a gun? And this slide also goes into how many women every year in the United States protect themselves against sexual crimes by using a gun, and that's a pretty shocking stat. Next slide. Next slide. Numbers don't lie. After Australia banned guns, crime rates soared. It's just pretty self-explanatory. Criminals don't have anything to worry about after there's no more guns. They can just go into a house and not have much to worry about except for your dog and your baseball bat. Next slide. Next slide. Impacts of banned guns. My favorite part of this slide is the last paragraph, and a city in Georgia required everyone in the city to own a gun in their home, and the crime rate dropped enormously after 20 years. It dropped 90%, and that's pretty shocking. And some other things, just I wouldn't want to put my life in the hands of a police officer. How long does it take for a police officer to come out? If you call them for anything, it takes 20 minutes. By that time, you've already been shot. So why not protect yourself with a gun? Why would we ban them? And robbers aren't afraid of the law, or they wouldn't be robbing people anyways, so they're going to have guns anyways. Next slide. And that wraps it up. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it.